Morning, Lexi. Friday Freak here. It's Friday, so I do a Friday Freakout. Talking about yesterday being the anniversary of the Kawhi Leonard shot, that epic four-bounce shot against Philadelphia in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Semifinals 2019. The crazy, crazy shot that's been memorialized and remembered in all kinds of different ways. Somebody made a Lego version of it. It's really cool. Stuff like that. Really cool stuff. Good morning, Sue. Good to see you. Yeah, I forgot that it was the anniversary of the shot yesterday. And then I saw all the great tributes and all the different camera angles and all the different fan art that people have done of the shot to commemorate it from then and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I need to do it more justice. So I'm freaking out about the shot today and just how epic and how crazy incredible it was. Like, you couldn't have scripted it better. It was a Game 7. It was the last second. You had our best player with their best player trying to come at him and like block him. And then like it was really off balance. He didn't have to shoot a three. He could have shot a two-pointer and won the game because the game was tied. He didn't need 3 points, but he did shoot 3 points. And like the way it bounced on the rim is just so cinematic. It's so like just like a movie. Like, you couldn't have scripted it any better as far as like it had the exact feel of like a movie where a good guy in the movie finally hits a big shot in a basketball game and wins the game. So it's absolutely crazy. Sue's saying, what a shot that was. It will go down as one of the best of all time. Honestly, I think it would be considered one of the best of all time throughout the whole NBA if it hadn't been done by a Toronto Raptor. Like, if think about this. Like, if the shot happened for the Lakers franchise or for the Celtics franchise or the Heat franchise or the Warriors franchise, the NBA would put that shot all over their marketing, all over the place. They would have said stuff like, this is the greatest shot in the history of the NBA. They would have pushed it way more than they did, honestly. And it's too bad in some ways. But in some ways, it's like we know that the quality of this shot and the way that it went down and everything about it is just so epic. Like, in the recent NBA history, this is the shot that is the most incredible to me. Like, sure, there's old shots with Havlicek and different people from way back and stuff like that, but not and Jordan, of course, Jordan shots, maybe a couple of Kobe shots here and there, but that shot in particular, just because of the stakes, the fact that it was right at the end of a 7-game series. This wasn't to close out a series at 5 where the other team won one and then they beat them 4 times in a row. This is literally 3 versus 3, the last second of the game, boom, making it. Tom Duke is here. Good morning, Tom Duke. Happy Freak Out Friday. Yeah, I'm not going to be on for very long. I'll talk about a couple of subjects here, and then I'm going to probably get off the air right now because I have to go to a convention across town. So I'm going to probably be wrapping up pretty quick. So yeah, I just wanted to commemorate and talk about Kawhi's shot a little bit more because I felt like I really lost an opportunity yesterday on the 3rd anniversary. And like I said, I went on social media, I saw all the love and all the talking about the shot, and I was like, this is due and this is important. And that, in some ways, the anniversary of the shot will always be kind of some sort of holiday or some sort of thing for us to celebrate as Raptor Nation, stuff like that. Now, on the reverse, yesterday, Sixers Nation was not happy to get up and look and see that highlight all over their social media yesterday on the day of a Game 6 against Miami Heat, where they're facing him elimination. And well, we saw what happened. The Sixers were eliminated last night, finally, against Miami. And I'm not very happy about it. I know some Raptor fans are probably celebrating that the Sixers are out, but in some ways, I'm kind of like, yeah. I understand. And this, it sucks. It sucks to go out all of a sudden. And I know Sixers Nation is pretty upset. Like, they start the day with the anniversary, 3 years of Kawhi shot, and then boom, they lose and they're out of the playoffs in Game 6 against Miami. That's got to suck in all kinds of different ways. And I feel bad for Kyle because Kyle hasn't been playing. And the games that Kyle played, they kind of lost. It was kind of like Fred VanVleet with us in the playoffs this year. When Fred played, he slowed us down and we had a hard time. And then like when he didn't play, we did better. Similar thing happening for Miami right now with Kyle's injuries with his hamstring and stuff like that. So let's see. Tom Duke saying that whole run was like living a movie and was an awesome moment. Yeah, it's funny how some people have said that after that shot that Kawhi hit, even though Milwaukee went up 2 on us, that we didn't have any fear of losing to the Deer, that we were actually feeling real good about winning that series no matter what, because we had some sort of like inertia or like a team of destiny kind of feel to us just because of the nature of how Kawhi hit his shot and stuff like that. So yeah, it really was like a movie. It was a very dreamlike time for me. Like I didn't understand completely what was going on. It was hard to be aware, and it was almost like you need to pinch me every morning to wake me up and realize that I am actually awake and not dreaming because of the way things went that year. Raymond Jacob is here. I ventured off in Sixers Nation after staying away since they won. Right now, Sixers Nation is all over the place, imploding on one another. Yeah, Raymond Jacob has gone on a fact-finding mission on the social media to go find out what's happening with Sixer Nation. Is not pretty tonight. Oh no, it's not. James Harden's getting turned on pretty heavy as far as like he didn't score any points in the fourth quarter last night. He didn't score any points in the fourth quarter in the game before, and he's getting more exposed. Even Joel came out in his interview after the game last night and said this is not Houston James Harden, and he's not going to show up. He said it himself, and in some ways, what he said could be taken as an insult towards James Harden. So I don't know what's going on with that kind of interaction and things like that. It may be that James's time in Philadelphia will be very, very short, and that that this is the kind of thing that Daryl Morey really has to be careful with, because the Sixers fans do not like James Harden to a certain degree, and they don't want to invest the kind of money into him that they may have to if they want to keep him. So very interesting time for them. Plus, there's all the questions about Doc Rivers and the coaching change that may need to be happening for them. There is a lot of more problems with their team at this point, after even though they got further than us than we have with our team. So in some ways, I don't envy them. Their problems are a lot different than ours in some ways and stuff like that. So Sue saying Sixers are going to hate this day forever after losing this last night. Yeah, they probably do lump it all into it. Is like, what is it? May the 12th. Every single year, Kawhi shot day, boom, they're not going to want to have that day. And it's in the playoff season. So, if they get playoff games on that day, this is going to only add to it. They got eliminated on the day of the Kawhi shot. So, Sue saying it really was like a movie, something you will think only will happen in movies, but it happened. Like I said this earlier this week, that it looked like that play in Teen Wolf where he's shooting a free throw and he's trying to make the free throw to help win the game, and the ball like dramatically bounces on the rim until it finally falls in. It's very, very cinematic, very, very like a movie script kind of thing. The way he did it, it's like Kawhi, if you're an actor in a movie, you went out there and played the role and did your blocking exactly right. Like you had your blocking right down, like with the whole dribble around the top and then the fade in the corner, falling out of bounds. Boom, you're blocking really, really good. They might as well have had the marks on the floor with the tape like they do in movie scenes, because Kawhi hit it perfect. Oh my gosh. Tom Duke saying, so true, Raymond. JoJo's saying Harden isn't Houston Harden, always criticizing and saying the decision is not my job. Once again, Joel's showing that he's not very smart. Because listen, Joel, if you want to build a team, a nucleus, and things like that, you need to be more team oriented, because you're too quick to throw your teammates under the bus. And you did it with Simmons before, and now you're doing it to Harden now. And that's not good, man. That's not a good look. Like, you're not going to attract other players to come want to play with you if you're going to throw them under the bus when you guys fail. So you really got to, man, you've got to work on a couple things with your character and your flaws and stuff like that. Like as far as the showboating and then throwing your teammates under the bus, these are not good examples for young children who play sports. Then don't be like Joel Embiid, because like honestly, this dude is not a good role model in all kinds of different ways. And him throwing James Harden under the bus, yeah, you may be right and you may be true, but you are not the voice that needs to be saying this. Leave it to your fans. They will say it enough for you. Trust me. But you do not need to be saying it. You should be supportive of your teammates no matter what. And it's really a bad look. It's really a bad look. And it reflects on you, Joel. It doesn't reflect on James as much. It makes you look bad because you throw your teammates on the bus way too quick. Way too quick. All right, let's see. Let's see. Sue's saying Sixers fans were booing them again last night. I don't like how quickly they turn on each other and their team. Well, that's what happens when they're losing on their home court and then they get eliminated on their home court. Yeah, that's just them. You've got to realize, Sue, that this fan nation has been treated a certain way with disappointment. There's a similar thing going on, a little bit of worry with the Leafs because last night they had game 6. They could have closed out Tampa Bay. It went to overtime, and Tampa Bay got that overtime goal to extend the series to game 7 here in Toronto on Saturday. And it's a similar kind of worry and queasiness that Leaf Nation may be in for the next couple of days and stuff like that. Now, just real quick, talking about Leaf Nation, listen, I don't hate the Leafs. I don't necessarily root for them either, but I'm not against them. I would like the Leafs to win a Stanley Cup because I think it would be good for Toronto and it would be good for all kinds of different reasons. But I don't necessarily get behind them and root for them like other people would. I do root for any of the Canadian teams, but somebody said recently they don't understand Raptor fans that don't root for the Leafs, that are especially from Toronto. They don't understand why. Well, I can tell you exactly why for me personally. And the reasons why are very simple is because the Leafs have hurt the Raptors. In the history of the MLSE, the Leafs have hurt the Raptors early on in their existence together at the Air Canada Center. I worked there and I saw how the Leafs were treated and how the Raptors were treated. We got all the secondhand scraps compared to them. We were treated as a secondary citizen in our own building. And I did grow to resent the Leafs because of this. So for any Leaf Nation people that are wondering why I'm not so pro Leafs, it's because your team and your franchise has hurt my franchise over the years. And it's in different ways. It's whether with the media spotlight and us not getting a spotlight when we deserved it, whether it was inside the building, working in the organization. I saw the differences. It was kind of like these were privileged, the blue and white, and then the purple was not privileged. It was like treat them as an afterthought. We make all these things with the design for the Leafs team, but then make a purple one for the Raptors as a secondary, like afterthought. It was stuff like that. So this is part of the reason why. And then you couple in the fact that the Raptors nation gets the shaft from all the different medias, whether it's Canadian media, US media, the NBA itself, and the Leafs are a golden boy team in the NHL. They're basically handed a lot to them by the NHL. The fans come and support the team. They don't care about making the team better over the years because they were going to make the money anyway. There were a whole lot of different reasons why I could not respect the Leafs for different ways. So I hope they win game 7 on Saturday. I really do, because I don't want the Leafs to lose in the first round like they always do. And it would be very important for them to beat this defending Stanley Cup champions in a game 7, this Tampa Bay Lightning. So my allegiance is to the Leafs. It's just people need to realize why some people in Raptors Nation do not like the Leafs. And it also comes down in some ways to like privilege. Like you have to have a lot of money to get into hockey. To buy all the equipment and to do all this kind of stuff. It's not as accessible to people that don't have as much money. And then some people are just basketball people because of that, because they've been classed out of hockey. So that's part of it also. There's a lot to it. But I do want to say that, yes, I am rooting for the Leafs and that I do want them to win because it's good for the city of Toronto. So that I'll just say that part of all that kind of stuff, because this week there's been a lot of talk about like Raptor fans not supporting the Leafs. I can understand a Raptor fan that lives in Montreal not supporting the Leafs because they have the Habs, and a lot of people, but people not understand why Toronto people that support the Raptors do not support the Leafs. I just shed a little bit of light on it, and that's me personally. I'm very much this way. Like I'm a Winnipeg Jets fan when it comes down to the NHL. That is my team. That is who I'd love to see win the most. But Toronto, any of the other Canadian teams, I'd love to see them win because I want Laurie Stanley back in Canada. That's the thing that's important to me. Yeah. All right. So let's see what else you guys are saying. All right. Good. It's good to see Summers here and a couple other people. All right. I'll just run through this real quick. Raymond Jacobs saying at Tom, Sixers fans know they are not contenders for the coming future and on. Yeah, see, that's part of the problem too, is that they're freaking out because they thought that their ceiling may be tested this year with the guys that they got. But this year's been a complete disaster for Sixer Nation. Ben Simmons screwed it up right for most of the year. And then like the whole trade and like even Harden and just all the different stuff, they realize that they're not going to get much better, that they need a lot more retooling with different things and stuff like that. And that we have a much more bright future in some ways, Raptor Nation, than Sixers Nation does right now, because they have a lot of problems they've got to deal with. So yeah, that's part of it right there. All right, let me see what else you guys are saying. Click's giving the peace sign and laughing with the Sixers. Hey, Click's feeling good today about the Sixers being out, and I'm glad you are too, Click. Summer Lowe's saying Joel always throwing other people under the bus. Yeah, he did. He totally did this summer. Why? It's not necessary. If you have those feelings, go ahead and talk to your coach about it. Talk to your GM, but don't talk to the press, Joel. It just shows that you're not very smart, because that's one. James is one problem, but then when you say something like that to the press, you're another whole problem added to the pile of problems. And that's what you want. You don't want to be another problem, and that is another problem. Loose lips sink ships, and that's why you don't hear Raptors players dissing each other or putting each other down. They stay together, and that's a big problem that he's causing here in Philly. And like other superstars are going to see this, and they're going to be like, I don't want to play with Joel because he's going to throw me under the bus, something like that. Click saying Joel is going to be in Miami in a few years. You think that he's going to go to the Miami Heat? Wow, that's interesting. I could see that possibly happening. I know Heat Nation would love that, and they would probably try and figure out how to make that work. But what would be the cost, Click? How much would Miami have to give up to figure that out? And would that make them better? Actually, that's the other thing. Go ahead, Miami. Just kind of like make our day. You go ahead and try it and see if it works out. It might be that you get your franchise messed up. That'd be awesome. Summer Lowe saying if Doc and Joel didn't say anything after last year's playoffs, might not have had the whole Ben Simmons fiasco. That is a really good observation, Summer. And what if? What if they had just shut up, and then Ben wouldn't have gone through the fragile public thing with the fans and like his own teammates and the press and everybody? Maybe things would have worked out and he could have came back and coexisted. But because these guys are so honest and open and out there like me, well, I can do that. But these guys shouldn't be doing that because they can cause real damage, like what Summer Lowe's saying right here. I'm not blaming them for Ben Simmons being a jackass, but they didn't help things. That's for sure. Click2M saying Sixers traded elite defense and no offense for mediocre offense and no defense. Yeah, that's a pretty good way of summarizing their moves over the last 3 years since the Kawhi shot, is that they traded elite good defense, people like Jimmy Butler and Al Horford, people like this, and now they have what they have. And that is like they don't really have any defense in some ways other than Joel Embiid. He is like absolutely important for their defense to be any good. And if he's not on the court, like in the first 2 games of the series, you see that they can't stop any other team in any kind of way for the most part. So Raymond Jacob is saying it must hurt so bad to get their ass kicked by the player they should have kept. Go Jimmy. Yeah, yeah, that is a little bit poetic. And Jimmy really was the factor again last night. Like he was the leading scorer. He took 26 shots, made 14, and he was absolutely balling out, doing everything possible to make sure Miami Heat won. And good for you, Jimmy Butler. You are a real winner, Jimmy Buckets. And it is kind of sweet in some ways. I agree with what you're saying. Tom Duke saying Sixer fans leaving early. Geez, how's busy traffic even on your mind at that moment? For me, even if they're losing, if we're in the building with the Raptors and we're in the same situation as the Sixers Nation was last night, I stay till the very bitter end. And I want to see that final buzzer rate. I want to see that final score. And I want to see how the players react to it, whether they're pissed off like I am. And also, I want to soak in that feeling of losing, that feeling of failing. It's because I want to not feel it anymore. That's part of what Scotty Barnes had to deal with this playoff series against Philadelphia in the first round, is soak in that feeling of losing so that you can feel it and understand how it hurts and how it sucks. sucks and how you want to avoid it at all costs in the situations in the future. And that's what I'm saying. As a fan, you want to do that too, because you want the bitter with the sweet. You need to go there and feel that bitter and feel that disappointment and really earn it and own it. Don't leave early. Take it in. And then when the sweetness, the beauty of the win, of the victory comes around, it feels so much even better because you've been there in those moments and stuck around when it was really bad. Some people just can't associate themselves with losing. So they have to leave. They have to run for the exit as soon as they see it's about to be losing time. They're like, I got to get out of here before I get branded a loser. I get the stench of losing on me because I'm in the building. It's like something with Drake. You'll see if the Raptors are in big trouble, he will make an exit and leave the game from his front row seat in those kind of games if it's really bad. So, yeah, it's very interesting. The Sixers Nation, very fickle, very, very much wants their team to win. But if you are bad in any kind of way, they will turn their back on you so quick. Summer Lowe saying, haha, Jimmy Butler yelling Tobias Harris over me after the game. That's what he said. Wow, that is cold. That is cold. Wow, Jimmy Butler. Tobias Harris over me. Fantastic news note there, Summerlow. I did not know that Jimmy said that. And good. He said that in the Philadelphia arena. Good. He should have said that. And like I said it right away. As soon as they lost Jimmy Butler, Philadelphia went because he was the heart and soul of what was making that team good. It wasn't Joel Embiid. It wasn't Ben Simmons. It was Jimmy Butler. And that I'm so glad he said that, Summer. And you told me that he said that. Click to him saying, I'm just not a hockey guy. Too slow for me. Well, that's interesting because hockey seems like it's pretty quick. To me, the game of hockey is very similar to soccer. And there's a lot of time where nobody scores anything. And I am that kind of guy, that instant gratification of seeing the basketball team go up and down and get a score, so many scores, and the score goes up. And I have a hard time sitting and watching a 0-0 game, a game that's very like back and forth and very equally contested in that kind of way and stuff like that. So I'm with you, Click. I mean, I can enjoy hockey and watch it. And, I enjoy watching like Canada hockey, like Olympic hockey and that kind of stuff. Not as much the NHL. But yeah, I'm the same way with you. Once again, I may have been a really good hockey player myself because I'm, Scandinavian and Manitobian kind of mix in my heritage where I come from. And I'm 6'4" and I've got the right body size and I'm very quick on my feet. I probably could have been a badass hockey player, but I lived in Florida. There was no ice. I didn't learn how to ice skate. So I picked up a basketball and I went to the hardtop and played basketball instead. So it's just a different kind of thing. But if I'd grown up in Toronto, I probably would have played hockey. And I might be way more diehard on hockey than basketball. It's such a weird route that could have changed. I wouldn't have been the Raptor freak necessarily. So very interesting. Raymond Jacobs saying low scoring sports are kind of, yeah, it's the same thing with me, Raymond. I totally get what you're saying. Like, there's certain sports that I'm like baseball even. I have a hard time watching baseball to a degree because there's just so much stoppage of play and just kind of standing around and scratching yourself kind of stuff. And the action in a baseball game could really be condensed to like maybe like 10 minutes of a whole 3-hour time and stuff like that. So I don't want to diss other sports too much because sports are just great in general. And I do like baseball and hockey. I do like the sports. I think they're fun to watch to a degree. So let's see. Daryl Turner saying, good to see you, Daryl. Opinions on Bucks win and Warriors closeout. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the Bucks are ahead against the Celtics. They're playing tonight. Hopefully they can just put the Celtics out tonight. That would be so lovely. And then we get this Eastern Conference matchup against Milwaukee and Miami, which is the matchup I think it would be most entertaining. I hate the Celtics. I just want them to lose tonight and go out. If they win tonight, then that means there's a game 7 for Sunday. And that's exciting too. But go Bucks. Come on, Giannis. You are the man. You need to be the man in these games and be the power player and put those Boston Celtics out. Because I would love to have 2 days in a row where I see division opponents out of the playoffs all of a sudden with Philadelphia and Boston. So I'm all about that. And then as far as the Warriors close out, very interesting game last night with the Dallas Mavericks extending the series with the Warriors. I thought that they were going to beat them last night. And I mean, Phoenix, actually, it was Phoenix, not Warriors. I'm getting the series confused. Is Phoenix. I really thought Phoenix was going to close out Dallas last night, but they did not. The Dallas is staying alive, and now it's a 7-game. Game 7 is going to be going down on Saturday with that one. But as far as the other series with Memphis and Golden State, as far as that closing out tonight, that's going to be very interesting because, see, Memphis doesn't have Ja Morant, and I felt like they really overachieved in their last game against the Warriors. So the Warriors are really going to need to kill off the Grizzlies because the Grizzlies are very dangerous. Like, even without Ja Morant, we're seeing how good they are without their best player. And that's insane. So Golden State, that's not sure money. And Drake, if I were you, I'd be sweating a little bit on that big, huge bet you put on Golden State to get so far in the playoffs. The Grizzlies might be coming to fuck that up for you. And I wouldn't be surprised if Memphis wins the series against Golden State somehow, some way, even without Morant playing. So that's kind of where I see it with that, Daryl. I mean, Golden State needs to win because they had the chance and they need to just close it out. But don't be surprised if the Grizzlies do some surprising stuff also, even without their best guy. Yeah, we're all still talking about how slow it is with these games and stuff like that. It takes 30 minutes for one goal. You see it kick around and stuff like that. And then also in soccer, for me, I feel like the players sometimes are so overacting and just so and stuff like that. There's a little bit of a prima donna kind of thing with soccer players on a certain level. Like when you get the Premier League or just like the best soccer leagues in the world, some of the players are very kind of like they're not likable to me because they're very have airs to them, and then they're babies on the field. They're like Joel Embiid in soccer and stuff like that. So, all right, let's keep going. Wow, lots of stuff to talk about today. This is good. I was worried I wouldn't figure out what to talk about today. Let's see. Marlon's saying, "Tell Embiid to come to Toronto. We need him at center." Laugh out loud. Marlon, he's thinking out of the box. Well, he may have to make some amends with us, the fan nation, because we are at odds with each other at this point. And I don't know if our fans will take him back or want to like him, and vice versa. This just may be how it is. This may be like a Goran thing at this point. It's like on the down low, Goran was never going to fit in here this year because we hate him, and he kind of hates us. Like he has been conditioned to hate us. So it's kind of like, yeah, we know you're our new tenant or your new person on the team with us, but we don't necessarily get along with you, even though we're trying to right now. And that was the whole thing with Goran. I feel like it may be like that with Joel, that like as soon as something goes wrong, like maybe his character does something stupid in the public, and then Toronto people are just like, forget this knucklehead. We don't want this guy around here. But that's an interesting thought exercise to think about Embiid on this team. Like it's way more realistic that somebody like Gobert ends up on our team, which has been a lot talked about this week. But in some ways, we were like, we don't want this. We've said that we don't want the Gobert thing to go through. But that may be the closest we get to getting a premium center in this league is the possibility of the Gobert trade going through this summer. And Paul B was saying in the comments on my stream from yesterday that he likes the idea because he's a defensive player of the year, that he has a whole other look, and that he's also saying that he thinks that Gary and Fred may not be in Raptor jerseys for much longer anyway. So why not cut our losses ahead of time and get Gobert, something for that? That's an interesting philosophy and opinion in this whole situation by Paul B. But I find it to be very valid to think about just in case and stuff like that. So, but I want to go with our guys that are here personally myself. But Paul, with that opinion, was good that he said it, and he kind of gave another idea to it all as far as things. But I think it's too much of a gamble and too much contract money invested in Rudy Gobert if we did try and get him. So, all right, let's see. Click saying not everyone watches hockey, enjoys the sport. Raptor fans are Raptors fans because they enjoy and watch basketball. Yeah, you mean like as far as playing it? Like maybe a lot of people watch hockey, but they don't actually ever play it or something like that. I think a lot of people that watch basketball have played basketball at some time and enjoyed it themselves. I think that's what you're trying to say and stuff like that. But Yeah, also a lot of people just get behind the Leafs because it's Toronto and like that's been the team for the city for so long, like default that like the Leafs are you just if you live in Toronto, you have to root for the Leafs. It's just expected of you, and stuff like that. So Raymond Jacobs saying true, Marlon. If Embiid doesn't want to get knocked out by Pascal anymore, he should just join him. Yeah. Raymond, you guys are funny. Yeah, we can just get more Cameroonians, just have a lot of Cameroonians on our team and stuff like that. It's pretty awesome. The other day, watching the Open Gym episode, they showed the locker room, and you know that all the players have the flag of their country next to their name. Like Scotty Barnes has the Stars and Stripes, USA. Like Svi has the Ukrainian flag on his locker, and Yuta Watanabe, Japan. And I was looking, and they showed Precious's locker. He has Nigeria as his country, right? But right next to him was OG. And OG was actually born in the UK. He's actually a British citizen, but he's also an American because he was kind of raised here in Missouri in US. But his flag on his locker is the same as Precious's. He has the Nigerian flag next to his because his family is Nigerian and that's what he associates with. I found that very interesting and cool that he didn't have the Union Jack or the Stars and Stripes. He had his original country, Nigeria, up on his locker there. That was really cool to see. That was a little Easter egg I saw in the Open Gym episode the other day. And I was like, "Whoa, that's cool. He has a Nigerian flag, just like Precious next to him." So very cool. All right, let me keep going with your comments. Let's see. Click saying Sixers have two trade assets and one of them is on a horrible contract. Yeah, you're talking about Tobias Harris. Yeah, he's on a horrible contract, and then Maxey's the other one. And there's honestly Maxey's their brightest, best future. And I mean, maybe you meant Harden in there too, but I don't see him as a trade asset. He's a trade liability. Like Harden is going to be so hard to move in any kind of way. So I wouldn't look at him as any kind of asset. But maybe Tobias Harris is that asset you're talking about. I'm not sure who you're talking about and which ones. Click. Summer Lowe is saying, Joel said in post game, not blaming anyone, but I had a broken face. Summer, yeah, I didn't watch any of their post game interviews because honestly, I didn't really care. But I did see the headlines about Embiid throwing Harden under the bus. So that's a funny quote right there. I'm not blaming anyone, but I had a broken face. Are you blaming Pascal? Or are you blaming your teammates because they didn't have broken faces and they don't have an excuse like you do? Well, I don't understand. You can say broken face or a torn thumb. You have a couple excuses, Joel. Sue's saying Jimmy Butler loves Joel. He was expressing his love and admiration after game last night, so he could very well end up in Miami. Well, listen, I'm sure Pat Riley's really happy with Jimmy advocating this and sending love towards Joel and maybe enticing him to do that. I know that Heat fans they just aspire to get all the kind of players that they can get their marquee or something like that. In some ways, since the Lakers are kind of a joke and they're so mismanaged and dysfunctional, the Miami Heat kind of have the Lakers mentality on the Eastern Conference of we can take whoever we want from any team. Nick Nurse can come coach us. We'll take Masai Ujiri. We'll take Scotty Barnes. They have that idea and mentality as a fan nation, like the Laker Nation does. And they will put out bullshit and try and make things happen. And that's part of how the whole LeBron decision and the ganging up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh came about. Is that Pat Riley was a genius. He was like, maybe we can make this happen. That kind of stuff happens with Miami Heat Nation. So we need to watch out for that as far as things. But listen, their talent with their vets and stuff like that is pretty good right now already without Joel Embiid. But that's an interesting connection. Maybe it's not enough to draw Joel out of Philadelphia, but who knows? He could get real frustrated there and want to go somewhere else. I could see Joel maybe going to Miami or the Lakers. Like the Lakers may try and get him or something like that. But who cares? Either way, I think that whoever has Joel Embiid has to understand you're not going to win a championship. That he has his advantages and he has his limits. And his limits may be enough to keep him away from ever winning a championship himself personally on any team is what I'm saying. All right, let's see. Sue's saying he missed playing with him. Yeah, so Jimmy and Joel like playing with each other. Hey, we'll see what happens down the road. I think that Sixer Nation will be up in arms about this and be saying, yeah, we're not. Joel Embiid is not going anywhere. Don't even think about it. Click 2M saying the Sixers clearly can't develop players. They didn't develop Ben's offense, and now the same is happening with Ben Simmons 2.0. Matisse Thybulle is horrendous. Yeah, he's really gone downhill. He was good in his first couple of years in the league, but he is not the same kind of player recently. And he's also admitted that because he missed the games in Toronto because of his vaccine status, he was starting to have a confidence loss. Like he was worried about, like he was losing his confidence, partly because he wasn't able to show up for the team and stuff like that. But yeah, I agree. Like once again, our development system is so awesome and so great and so attractive to young players who want to get better in the NBA. You want to get a purse, you want to get that bag, you come to Toronto and work with us, and we will improve you so you will get paid down the road. And that's what I'll say to any NBA free agent who's wondering about whether they should play for Toronto or not. You want to get paid more money? Come to Toronto because you will get that bag eventually. You can ask Norman Powell. You can ask Kyle Lowry. You can ask Pascal Siakam. You will get a bag in our development system. So Leslie's here. Good to see Leslie. Jimmy is laughing. Simmons and Harden are both bad trades. Yes, bad trade for both ways. Like the situation, like the Nets are saying right now. Steve Nash is saying that he wants to have Ben Simmons be a similar kind of guy to Scotty Barnes. He wants him to be the point guard, but also playing defensive center is what he wants Ben Simmons to do. That's a tall order for that young man. And you need to figure out if he's even got the chops to even play in the NBA before you start making any aspirations or expectations of duties and roles and responsibilities on the court. You need to just find out if he's a functional NBA player in the first place, Steve Nash, before you start thinking about what all you want to put on his shoulders. Because this man hasn't even shown up that he's ready to be in the arena playing in front of a live crowd without being some sort of soft or fragile. And that's the thing. I wouldn't put that on him yet. I want to see him first come in and just show that he can still play in the NBA, because there's a lot of question about that in some ways. Let's see. Alistair saying it's funny because Raptors were supposed to win before, but Kawhi missed free throws. Yeah. Okay. So you're talking about with the shot, we were supposed to win before that happened, but that was like a makeup because we missed some free throws. Yeah, I do remember that. Click to him saying the Bucks winning is huge. Two of my most hated teams go to Cancun. I'm with you, Click. I'm saying with you. I mean, Boston and Philly, these are our division rivals. These are people that we fight for Atlantic Division titles with, along with Brooklyn. And, with them going out, I'm not unhappy that no Atlantic Division team possibly could be in the Eastern Conference Finals. And they have the new awards, like the Larry Bird Eastern Conference Finals MVP award they just announced, and the Magic Johnson Western Conference Finals MVP award. Also, very interesting. They're naming all these new awards. They named two out of the four awards after Celtics, which is annoying to me, but I understand why. Bob Cousy, Larry Bird, sure. But the other ones for sure, Oscar Robertson and Irvin Magic Johnson, totally deserve it and stuff like that. But they're awarding new awards with new names to them. And I wonder who would have won Eastern Conference Finals MVP in that year in 2019. Pretty sure Kawhi would have won it the way that they came back against Milwaukee. So, all right, let's see. Alistair saying we're still ahead of Philly. Another win, another exit. Cancun. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think we're ahead of them, even though we lost them in the first round. If we had been fully healthy 100%, I think we would have won that series. Raymond Jacobs saying the only sports I can only watch, the only thing are Raptors and women's beach volleyball. Raymond, hey, I understand. These are the only sports that you can watch. Hey, that's fine. This is the thing. You have an entertainment budget. You have a limited time of viewing things that you like to watch. You can't watch every sport or like everything. I mean, some people try and do it, but it's really hard to do it. So you kind of have your bread and butter. You have your favorites. And for us, it's Toronto Raptor basketball. And for you, secondary, women's beach volleyball. Nothing wrong with that. That's pretty cool. For me, it's like watching classic wrestling. I love watching old 80s wrestling. Like I'll watch old Mid-South episodes, old NWA, old WWF, like way back in the day. I love watching 30-year-old wrestling That's what I'm watching in my off time. If I'm not watching Raptors basketball and sports, then I'm watching old wrestling probably. Click to Am saying the Mavs might pull the upset. CP3 is injured and he only took 6 shots to close out the game. Yeah, that's the thing. Luca, they love Luca as a golden boy, and he's somebody they can really push, the media machine. And in some ways, that Scott Foster NBA Mafia, they may be putting the hit on Chris Paul and not wanting him to get even to the finals this year. So that's very interesting thing to watch. I think both those Western Conference matchups right now are up for any of the 4 teams to take. I don't think it's just a given that Phoenix and Golden State will be in the Western Conference Finals, that those other 2 teams are very dangerous and they do have the possibility of doing it at this point. They really do. Alistair's saying Memphis is special, just a group of guys meshing well. They're young guys, they're having fun, they enjoy themselves, and they have an edge to them. And even though they haven't gotten that far or proven anything as a young group, they're proving stuff already and playing in an aptitude that's much higher than their experience. And that's something that's similar to us as a team. Like in some ways, if we caught a couple of lucky breaks in this playoff, we could have been very similar to how Memphis is messing people up right now. Although they were the second seed, so they had a much better home court advantage than we did and stuff like that. But Memphis is a very similar team to the Raptors in my eyes, as far as the youth experience, but also the possibilities. So yeah, I wouldn't count them out or the Dallas Mavericks at this point for sure. Leslie's saying, did anyone watch the last Open Gym? How amazing and inspiring was that? Wasn't it, Leslie? That show is just so good. And I love how it ties a nice bow on the whole season. You get that whole epic feeling of the series against Philadelphia in there. And you see all the behind the scenes stuff and the fun stuff. It's just such a good show, isn't it, Leslie? And we're so lucky to have it. And like some people on that watch this channel, they like to go watch the old Open Gym episodes from like 7 or 8 years ago and like relive those times. And it's kind of a cool thing. It's like having a photo album of your old photos and memories. Well, we have a TV show that we can go and find on YouTube and watch like all the different seasons. It's like the 10th season or something like that now, 10th or 12th season, Monique told me. And you can go back and look at those early Kyle Lowry days with DeMar DeRozan because they're all still there. You can still watch the episodes. It's really awesome. But yeah, that show is so fantastic and a really, really good job this season. It's almost like every season they up their game in different ways and make it even better. They're like master craftsmen crafting the show Open Gym, and over the years they've gotten really, really good at crafting it in just such an entertaining, really badass storytelling way. So yeah, we're so lucky, Leslie, and that is an understatement how amazing and inspiring that show was. That last one in particular. Alistair saying Leafs choke last night. Man was yelling outside saying fuck Austin Matthews. Okay, so someone was yelling outside Alistair's house last night saying fuck Austin Matthews. Well, listen, this man might be the MVP of the NHL this year. And like, listen, he should be somebody to celebrate because he's doing so many good things. That's the thing with this is the same thing with Sixer fan and Leaf fan. Just pretty good is not good enough. You need to be absolutely good. You have to be so good that you win. And that pretty good is not good enough for these fan nations. It's like the Leafs could do really well in this series and lose in game 7. And the Leaf Nation will be so upset still, just because it's like a barrier. The first round is a barrier. They have to leap and get past that barrier of the first round, or they won't be happy. Like, well, but is winning in the second round not enough too? Like, if you get to the second round and you lose in the second round, Leaf Nation, will you be upset and turn it on your team, just like Sixers Nation did to their team last night? That's what you got to wonder about. And that's what happens with old franchises. We're a young franchise, the Raptors. So we don't have the jadedness that the Leaf Nation has or the Sixers Nation has. And that's the difference. And I don't ever want to get to the point where we get that jaded in our history. Like, say, 20, 50 years from now, our fan nation all of a sudden is more jaded because of like losing over and over again. No, 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 no. We need to be a winning team all along and take the winning as it gets, as far as we get each year, whether it's like this year or it's a championship or it's the Eastern Conference Finals, whatever. We need to just go for it as far as we can and believe that we go as far as we can each year and not turn our backs on them like some the fan nations for the Leafs and the Sixers, because that is going to happen. If the Leafs lose on Saturday to Tampa Bay, Leaf Nation's going to turn on them and just like be like really toxic and be like, oh, I hate this team, and like yelling fuck Austin Matthews out their window and stuff like that. So Click 2 a.m. saying Gobert is overrated. And I tend to agree with this. I think you're right. Go watch Gobert in the playoffs. Yeah, he doesn't show up. He doesn't do certain things. He may be really good for getting you a good regular season record, maybe getting you home court. But in the playoffs, he may be a little bit like James Harden, a little bit disappearing act. And that may be something we need to think about with all that. Alistair saying Leafs going to choke again. I can't wait. Oh my gosh, I don't want that to happen, Alistair. But if it is what happens, so be it. But yeah, we don't want that to happen. Race Mode Daily's here. You retracted your message, but I hope you say something else. All right, Random Gamer's here. All right, I do want to say something to Random Gamer real quick. I just want to say what's up. What's up, guys? I think we all know Harden isn't going to Cancun. Yeah, there's a strip club closer than Cancun. He left the game last night on Miami's plane to get to the clubs. He stayed there and not come back. Oh man, Random Gamer's like, all right, listen, James, just stay in Miami in the clubs and just get lost in the titties and the $1 bills. Just stay there and just be in that world for a while. Like he doesn't want you coming back to Philadelphia in some ways. Listen, Random Gamer, once again, man, I think that y'all had a good series with Miami for the most part. I was really happy that Joel came back in Game 3 and got you guys some good wins in there in the middle of the series. And listen, I once again, we wanted our teams to be as healthy as possible to get the best basketball out of our teams and stuff like that. Now, I'm worried about Danny Green with the injury last night. And then also just like, listen, you guys are like us. Is every summer we got to go back to the drawing board to a certain extent and draw up the schematic for next year and who we want to be involved as far as who we had this past year. And I know that you got some questions to ask about certain people, like this whole thing about the max extending, James Harden is something I'm sure Sixers Nation is not mostly in favor of, and that you want him to just go ahead and be passed along somewhere along the way and invest the money in a better way going forward for your team than have it in him and have that kind of stuff. I can totally understand that. But once again, I feel bad that you guys are done also, and that it was a good playoff year in a lot of ways for both teams. Like you guys did do some good, interesting things during your playoff run. And as a Raptor fan, I would say that's what we do with our team is we look at the bright spots. We look at the things like Scotty Barnes and we say, this is where we got to go forward and build off of. And you guys do have some bright spots. And I would say Tyrese Maxey is number one on that list. And that you need to like really focus and take care of those ones. But once again, I said this earlier, maybe you were here and you heard me already, but Joel cannot be throwing James under the bus like this. It doesn't help anything. I know that your fan nation is down on James. You're going to say all the things that Joel's saying anyway, but he specifically should not be saying them because he's going to turn other superstars in the league off from playing next to him because he's done this to a couple people at this point. It's like really Joel Embiid needs to start fixing some things that he's doing with his character that will help you guys in the long run. I'm telling you right now. But you know what? Once again, I'm with you with as far as like we're all in Cancun now, and good year for you guys. You guys honestly had a successful year in a lot of ways. You may not think that, and you may not feel that, but you guys were a contender for real this year. And you can't always say that every year. Sometimes it's lip service that the Sixers are a contender. But this year, I really did feel like you guys were a contender in some ways and stuff like that. So Click saying, I wonder if Scotty Barnes is going to go to Carabana. I think he will. Honestly, that would make sense. That would be the smartest thing for the players to do in the offseason if they're going to be around in Toronto is to go to Carabana and enjoy Carabana because it's the best. Sue saying to Random Gamer, haha, oh, he does love his clubs. Do you think he will be back with the Sixers, honestly? And Random Gamer saying, yeah, he will, Sue. We gave up literally everything for him, so he's got to come back, sadly. So, yeah, that's the thing. They're kind of already hitched to him in some ways, and they got to just kind of like ride with him. And hopefully he'll get a kick in the ass, or maybe the new role for him will be really maximized and used better, that you can't expect him to be Houston James. like they've said. But this new playmaker, James, could be very valuable. In fact, I saw a lot of value in him in the series against Toronto and even this series against the Heat. That there are things that James can do on the court that are super, super really good still and at a high level. It's just not the scoring like he used to. So yeah, they're in the same bed, and they can't do anything about it. It's basically how it's got to be in some ways. Raymond saying at random, how are you feeling? Fearless humility is here. Let's see. No wonder Masai may be so lit to outclass every organization, even the Leafs. Fearless humility. I like the new name. And welcome here every morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking Raptors all summer long. Yeah, listen, for sure. Before Masai came in and took over the Raptors, we were at the whim or at the detriment of the Leafs organization screwing us over because we had no figurehead like Masai to protect us from that stuff. Like Rob Babcock, Glenn Grunwald, Brian Colangelo, all those guys were able to be fucked over by Leafs people in the organization that we shared. Richard Petty being one of the biggest ones. Like Richard Petty, he gave so much of a crap about the Leafs and didn't give a shit about the Raptors. It was like a secondary thing for him. So there's a lot of that. That's what I'm saying. And Lewicki separating them, saying, Masai, you're in charge. You're separate from the Leafs. The dysfunction of the Leafs will not bleed over into the Raptors any longer. Thank you. Oh my God. That was a really big part when it changed. And that delineation, that separation of Raptors and Leafs in the organization of MLSE was huge. And that's Tim Lewicki. We got to thank. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Tim Lewicki, because you were the catalyst, the one who made that change and hired Masai Ujiri and started this whole thing for the Raptors in the last 10 years because we wouldn't have it without him. And yeah, there's a chip on Masai's shoulder in some ways to get basketball more over in Canada against hockey in some ways. And that makes him hated by establishment people, status quo people in Canada, because in some ways it's like the States, so you're trying to take away from our American pastime, baseball. It'd be that kind of feeling for people up here, is that you're taking away from the Canadian pastime of hockey. And it's just a natural thing that basketball is more accessible. In some ways, it's more for everybody and not very like select, rich, certain kind of people. It's more multicultural and allowable for anybody to come play it, because you just need a ball and a hoop and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different things working in this. Suzanne at random, what a shame. He is really a shell of his former self. I feel for you guys. Yeah, we're feeling bad for Sixer fan today. And also kind of thinking about the James Harden situation here. Fearless humility saying Masai is obsessed with winning. Yeah. Like if you had a number count for what word he says the most, winning would be his favorite word. It's like Yuta Watanabe's was aggressive for like a little while. Well, Masai and Scotty Barnes, they both have one word that is their number one word, and that's winning. And a lot of people on the Raptors team have that as their number one word also. That you will hear them say that word win over and over again. We want to win. We're here to win. We just want to win. Larry O'Brien's, and that's what they're talking about. A random gamer saying at Raymond, honestly, I thought it would hurt, but I'm numb to pain. Honestly, I wish they would have fought, but whatever. At least it didn't end with a 4-bounce game winner this time. Yeah. Yeah, and also listen, you guys didn't get swept either. Like, Miami fans were really being pissy, and they're fucks. Honestly, fan nations. Miami fan is really cocky and arrogant and annoying, and they were coming at you guys with like, "We're sweeping y'all in 4. We're sweeping y'all, sweep, sweep." I'm so glad they didn't get the sweep on y'all because they didn't deserve to sweep you guys, and it looked like it could have happened if Joel hadn't come back. And I'm really glad that the sweep didn't happen. So in some ways, you got to take your small victories. As Fred VanVleet says, there's no moral victories. But in some ways, sometimes you need to take those moral victories just to survive as a sports fan. And maybe you feel numb right now. It's baseball season coming up. I thought you said maybe you're the Yankee fan. I think one of you, either you or Blue City, was a Yankee fan. At least you got Yankees baseball, or I wouldn't say Phillies baseball because I don't think you were a Philly fan. But at least you have that to get you distracted and get you excited with good baseball because the Yankees are doing very well. So I think it was you that said you were a Yankee fan, random gamer. It was either you or Blue City. I want to remember. I got to remember that it's one of the Sixers fans. Raymond Jacobs saying at random, I feel you. Raps didn't put in 100% effort in elimination game 2. Sucks when the team beats themselves. Yeah, yeah. Our game 6 against Philly, well, we weren't exactly who we were, and it sucks when it's on your own home court too. Like a game 6 on your own home court, you really need to win to extend the series, and the effort's just not there. And the other team does get you. It sucks. It's just what it is. And he's also worried about Danny Green. Anybody having an update on Danny Green? I should have looked at that, but I didn't look at that this morning. Raymond Jacob, I have no idea. Random Gamer saying prayers to Danny Joel's big ass just ended the man's career. So I didn't even see the injury. So Joel hit Danny or something like that, his own player, and that's how he got hurt. Oh my gosh, that's awful. Random Gamer saying, yeah, I see that Joel does need to stop doing that. I was fine with him doing it to Ben, to be honest, but we did just get Harden. You don't want a bad blood with teammates heading into the new season. Yeah. Yeah. So you're talking about what I was saying earlier. It's just not a good look, and it's not necessary. Keep it in house. Like the best sports franchises keep this kind of shit in house. And you can't do this in a New York market. The New York press eats this kind of stuff alive. And Philly, by default, is a little bit on the edge of that New York market that will take any little string of a problem and unravel it out of the whole sweater. And then all of a sudden your sweater's gone. It's a string. Is like they'll do that, and you can't give them ammunition. And this is honestly, this isn't Joel's fault totally. This needs to be a rule with your franchise, like your team, your coach, your GM, whoever who's in charge needs to tell the players they can't do this kind of shit. And that Joel's done it a couple times over the years, and that it's not helpful. It's not helpful. And like you want to mend fences and make them be able to work together. That's not the direction they want to go in. Let's see what else. Random Gamer saying, yeah, I see that Joel does. Okay, it's the same comment, just spam twice. Let's see. Lolita is saying that's the difference about Masai and the Raptors management to other teams. The mindset is winning, but accountability to their players and fans are second to none. Go Raptors. Yeah. Like we got to understand, like we can't win it every single year, but as long as we're on an upward curve, like of positive growth instead of like kind of and then as long as we're still trending up, that's always good. And that fans need to realize when we're trending up that we need to just be happy and support the team, that we're not in a bad place and we're not on our way down in some ways. So Raymond Jacobs saying, I wonder what's in store for Morey, Doc, Harden, Random. Also, what's going to happen with the process? No, listen, like he said, they're kind of set up to go into the next season with the same core. I mean, I'm sure they'll have some different bench players around them and different things like that. And maybe Doc does get fired and they have a new coach. Who knows? I'm sure that Sixers Nations kind of has their list of who is public enemy number one as out of all of them. Maybe Harden right now, maybe Morey, it may be Doc. But I'm thinking it's one of those three guys, and at least one of them will be gone this summer because they do want a head. They do want a change that is showing like, okay, we found that there's some dysfunction in our team. We need to chop at least one of these heads out of here. And it may most likely be Doc Rivers in some ways. I don't know. I don't know how are they happy with what he did in this playoff? I mean, the whole thing with leaving Joel out in our game and him getting hurt to me was a really crucial bad mistake to hurt them in the second round. That you had it all locked up and you were on your way. You could have just, if you'd avoided that, him being at risk, that may have made the second round against Miami way different. So in some ways, I blame Doc for them losing yesterday, ultimately, just because he left Joel out there and he missed the first two games of the series because he didn't pull him when he should have and stuff like that. So it's a tough woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's just how it happened, and this is it. This is how it went down, and stuff like that. Lolita saying, get well wishes to Danny Green and Kyle Lowry. Once a Raptor, always a Raptor. Go Raptors. Love the podcast. Thanks, Lolita. And yes, I'm with you. Once a Raptor, always a Raptor. Even if you're not totally in good standing, Vince Carter, you are still a Raptor. Once a Raptor, always a Raptor. And those guys are champion Raptors, which makes them even more special and premium as former Raptors. Random saying at Raymond, the process is done to get over the hump. They got to stop having the mentality. Our roster has drastically changed every season. It's led to nothing. So Random's wanting a continuity here that the Sixers just don't have the patience to do. It's like you're switching different parts of it at different times. You need to build that continuity of the core and the familiarity together and stuff. Like that core in 2019, if you guys could have kept it together, I think that you guys may have won a championship by now if you still had Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick in that core at that time. Because like in the last couple of years, you give it a chance to come around and do this stuff. Bam, and I would have picked Jimmy Butler over Tobias Harris, to be honest. And I know that's what Jimmy said after the game last night. But I would have picked him because he's a different kind of player that is very special. He's a similar kind of player to Kyle Lowry. And that's why Miami's so dangerous right now is they've got a couple of these guys that are real ones that really care about winning and stuff like that. So it's very interesting, and hopefully you guys can get some continuity over years so that you can meld together. Like the Maxey and Embiid combo could be very fruitful with the right other pieces around it. And I think that you're much like we do need to the Raptors. You need to upgrade your bench also. That if you could have a little more athleticism on your bench in this offseason, that would be good for y'all. And we need a little bit more shooting. It's kind of like we need the opposite of what each other needs. You have a lot of what we need, and we need a lot of we have what you need in some ways. It's a more defensive athleticism, and we need more like spot shooters, good shooters, and stuff like that. So very interesting. Maybe we need to do a deal this summer. I don't know. We'll see. Quick 2M saying Danny Green's injury looks like an ACL or MCL tear, and he's 35 years old. That might be career ending. That sucks. I hate to hear that. All right, let's see. Leslie is saying, do you think the Raptors will rehire Serge or Pirtle? I'd love to get Pirtle back. Pirtle is a really good idea, but Serge, I think you see that Milwaukee's not even playing him. He's not even in their rotation right now. So Serge is probably on his way to being not as important, but he would be valuable as just an end of the bench veteran, kind of like Thad, maybe very similar to Thaddeus. So who knows? But Thaddeus may be a better option than Serge at this point. I'm not sure. Like, who would it be? Like, Thad and Serge are kind of the similar role in some ways at this point in their careers. Tom Duke saying, totally feel for Danny. Hard not to get hurt when JoJo falls on you. Joel fell on him. Oh, see, that's awful. That is awful. I didn't see the game, and I didn't know exactly how it went down. So that is awful that is how that went down. Jeez, that Joel. All right, Angry Mexican. I love the name. This and with the angry spicy jalapeno. Sixers will never win with Joel Embiid as the number one option. Yeah, I mean, I've speculated that this just in general is like the big man in the league in some ways detrimental and hurts your chances for a championship in some ways. So I won't disagree with what Angry Mexican is saying here. Lolita's saying, I feel so bad about Joel Embiid last night. He played so hard and he must be in so much pain. Why did Doc Rivers leave him so long? It was a loss already. Doc likes to overplay him when he shouldn't have him out there and expose him to the possibility of injuries or injuring other people. It's that kind of thing, Lolita. That's one of the things I don't like about Doc Rivers is that he's too arrogant. Like he should have just admitted when he messed up in overplaying Joel at that time. But he said, I wouldn't change anything. I didn't do anything wrong, leaving him out there. Ooh, it's really bad. Angry Mexican saying, I hope Sixers give Harden a max deal. That franchise, no matter what it is, a second round out. This is a Raptor fan. He's also saying Embiid was atrocious back-to-back games. If you're on the floor, you can't be shooting 7 for 24. Well, it is what it is, but I'm glad you're here, and I hope you'll hit the subscribe button, Angry Mexican, because every morning I'm talking Raptors, and we can talk about this stuff all summer long. So please come back and hit that red button. Raymond Jacobs saying Philly could trade Embiid and rebuild. Random, is that possible? Keep high IQ Thad. Serge is only good for enforcing now, but has declined. Still love him, though. Yeah, Serge will always be good with us, and you like Thad over Serge at this point. I'm with you. For some reason, Serge has hit a wall or something in his career or something like that. And Raymond's asking Random about rebuilding and stuff like that. I don't know. Raymond, that is their issues to figure out from their standpoint, and I'm sure Random Gamer knows much better the intricacies and the things that are going on with their team than I do and stuff like that. So we'll let them have their issues to sort out while we sort out our own this summer. Anyway, y'all, it's just over an hour. Didn't want to go too long today. Just a little bit of a Friday freak out about the Kawhi Leonard shot, 3-year anniversary, seeing all the posts about it yesterday and talking about it today. And then just one more thing before I go. I just want to say that the assassination of the Al Jazeera reporter by a sniper bullet to her face is absolutely reprehensible. And that is a war crime. And a war crime happens just as much as it happens with Russia doing things to Ukrainians right now in their country. There are war crimes going on in other places also. And that other people shouldn't get a pass. That if Russia is a war crime and this is a war crime, the U.S. should be called for a war crime when they commit one, or Israel when they commit one also. And shooting a woman in the face while she's on television like that, or involved and like as a journalist, just because Saudi Arabia murdered a journalist behind closed doors doesn't make it any worse or better than shooting a woman in the face as a journalist also. And that's just what I have to say about this situation here. War crimes are war crimes, no matter who commits them, and they all should be brought to justice. That's what I'll say. All right, y'all, let's go Raptors. I will see y'all tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time.